So now that we have these brick, I had to move them either out a little bit or in a little bit just so we could get them all around without having to make an actual cut. Okay, so that's a good thing. So we don't have to cut a block to fit on the outside. Now what I'm going to do is come in and cut this geo-grid on the inside, because when I put that ring in here, eventually I'm going to want to level that ring with my block. Okay, and I can't do that if this mesh is down, because it's going to pull. It's not going to allow me to go down with it. So this is useless anyway. What's on the inside of this is nothing. This is going to get burnt up in the fire. So cut this right out. Okay, that's out of there. So now our ring will go back in here and center it kind of, and then we can always beat that down. Mike, take your level or your rule and go around and kind of level that ring. And meanwhile, I am going to get my rule and start leveling the blocks. All right, so Mike, because you've never done this before, see how that's perfectly level?
Yeah.
Back and forth, okay? And then you want to try to get it level this way too if you can, okay? And as long as it's inside the bubble, that's fine. All right. You're in good shape. Cheaters, that's what those are for. Check this. And the thing is, you want to make sure you get these in tight. So you want to get these as tight as you can on these joints. Now that we've gotten our blocks all leveled up, now what we're going to do is we're going to place another layer of geogrid in between the blocks and the caps. And again, this all helps so that once everything's glued together, helps everything from pulling apart. Okay, so it doesn't have to be anything perfect, just some strips. So good place to use up your scraps at. Okay. All right, so anyway, now that we've got our pieces cut of the geogrid to go around the top, one thing that we do have to do is we have to fill in all these hollow cores. If you show them, Mike, the hollow core on those blocks. So these will all get filled with rock to give it some stabilization, okay? Fill them up. I fill them like, you know, I like to leave like an inch or half an inch down on them just so you got some room to work when it's time to level things. So fill them up, fill up the cracks in here, and then of course we fill this in here is your gap, you know, for the fire rings. So okay, that's what we're doing next. All right, now just to show folks at home what we did here, we fill these up. This was Mike's brick, that's why it's not done perfectly. Those are mine. That's why they are perfect. So anyway, fill them, you know, leave them down just a little bit, because you're going to put that cap on top of here and you don't want any rocks on there. You want everything to be fitting nice and flush. So you'll notice on this side over here too, this is where Mike worked, where there's rock outside of the pit area also. And again, Mike, if you come over here and show them where I worked, how there is none. See, that's the difference between you and I am pretty much perfect. You have a long way to go. So, all right, so then what I do, so I always go around with this brush, kind of a handy little brush, and I brush it off, because what I'm going to be doing is laying these caps on here, and they've got to be level, so you can't have any little chips from rock or anything like that on here. What this rock does is it helps stabilize these blocks. Okay, it puts a lot more weight on them, so if anything goes to move them, you know, they're a lot more rock solid. So mine are done so well over here, I don't even have to sweep them off, really. Mike's, on the other hand, pretty rough. I have to sweep off every brick on his side. Huh. All right, so that's that. Now we're gonna go with the blocks. So, move the shovel. Mike put in the wrong spot again. I guess he didn't know we were gonna do the bricks next. For whatever reason, this seems to happen a lot. Okay. So, now you can do this one of two ways. You can either leave a little 1-inch overhang, which I like to do. I think it gives the bricks character, or you could shove it back to where it's just kind of flush with them. And I don't like that. I like to have a little bit of an overhang on them. So, that is how we're going to do this. And then I just use my finger, I just bump it up against there, bring it out a little bit, and do the same thing on the other side. So now I'm going to lay all these around, and like I said, she wants the pie cut all the way around this. So then what that is just slivers cut into every one of these. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing right now. So okay. All right, so take your block. We've already started to cut a few pieces, but I'll show you how we do it. We take and line up the front with each one of these. Line up the front, bring it out. Don't worry about where the back sits, worry about where the front sits, so it's level with these two blocks. Then come underneath here. Golly, gotta keep sharpening this thing every time I turn around. Soft lead, must have been made in Japan, I'm thinking. All right, so now come underneath, make your mark. Bottom side of each brick. Then you take, flip it over very gently, and you can see where your marks are. And if you need to, you can come back like this and finish drawing your straight edge on them. So that's the piece of pie that we're after. In the first cut, if you notice, I always cut dry because you have to get this cut dry, because as soon as the water comes out of here and it hits that lead, it just disappears. Your line disappears altogether. So, all right. First one's cut dry. Second one, we can put some water to. The reason the water is nice, one, it cuts down on the dust. Two, it keeps your blade nice and cool, so it doesn't get hot. If it gets hot, then it warps your blade, and then you get that wobble to it. So, and it doesn't cut where the crap. One other thing I was going to tell you guys, always make sure that you tighten this up before you ever go to work with it. Even though you just tightened it yesterday, tighten it every day. I had a blade come off of one of these that actually, well, it wasn't this saw, it was a different saw, but I had a blade come right off of that. I just happened to be down here eyeing up a brick, and as I did and I hit the switch, I caught a glimpse of something come flying out of the side. Well, it was this bolt, and I quick jumped out of the way, and when I did, that blade went flying right by me. So it hit the retaining wall, flew up in the air 100 feet, come back down, buried itself in the ground. So I mean, these things are really high velocity, you know, so you got to be so careful. So make sure you tighten them before every use. Okay, all right, so now that that's done, now what we want to do, now I just took like all the different brick cuttings that I use, and I just throw them in the bottom down in through here. And I mean, they're all just basically taking up space, because rather than just throw them out, they actually have a purpose. You put them in here to take up space, so you have to use less rock to come around. So now what you want to do, hold this, I'm going to show you what to do. So you just take this and just pick it straight up off of there. I'll put the glue down and then place it back in the best you can without disturbing the entire thing. A lot of times you can just pick up one like this. We'll pick up one at a time. So give me the glue, show you what we're going to do. All right, and that stuff really comes out of there. So now, Mike, you're going to want to lift this one up. Just should be able to stand it right up. There, put it back here. And now, Mike, I know you're back there, but you should come up here. The other Mike. All right, put it back in place if you can. All right. Then slide this back in place. Okay. Now pull the next one. Yep. A lot of glue coming here in a quick hurry. Alright, lift your block. So you can see how I'm putting this on. Never get way out on the edge, because if you do, when you set this down, that glue could run right down and out of your block. So always leave it back in there a ways. And you'll also notice we have the geogrid sitting in there as well. Okay. Alright, so now what we got to do is we got to get this level. We're going to level this ring with our bricks. So by doing that, I'm going to have Mike use the sledgehammer and just tap each one, just each side, a little bit on each side, until we get it down to where it needs to be. Alright, so you start on your side over there. We just kind of hold it with one hand here and then just tap down. Just little taps. Okay, that's pretty close. Now, bring it back across this way. Looks like this side over here, maybe. Put it on that stress one there. Yeah, just this side right here. So. Level. Pretty close. Yeah. All right. Good enough. Okay, so anyway, just about got it here. What we're going to do, level these rock off as much as possible. And look at all the rock you do. What on earth? Get it nice and level. Without these rock as a buffer between your heat from your fire, what would happen is it'll break your brick. The brick will get so hot that it cracks and chips away on you and it discolors. So I always put this little rock buffer in between, and there's just air in between there, and the rocks are always cold generally, you know, so that helps you out a lot with that. With that issue. Alright. So, that being said, hopefully you learned something from this. I certainly didn't, but Mike damn sure didn't learn anything from this. Did you, Mike?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. He's a very slow learner. What? He's slow. What? What did you say about the teacher? Boy, I get rid of him if I didn't know his mother a huge favor. So I got to keep him on for a little while. But anyway, this is George Packard, Family Lawn and Landscape. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Leave me your comments below. Always love to hear from you guys. See you later. Thanks.